Bows, TKOs, yeah. Bows, TKOs, we got bows, TKOs, yeah. Bows, TKOs, we got bows, TKOs, yeah. Bows, TKOs.
Bows and TKOs. We are live, episode 118, coming at you from the Valley on this beautiful Thursday afternoon. My name is Shane Gillette, the host for this weekly MMA podcast, streaming anywhere you get your podcasts with videos on YouTube. And man, it's getting beautiful here. The weather's cooling down. We got playoff baseball, college football, NFL, getting ready to go to Pittsburgh for that Sunday night football game here at the end of the month. Just had some friends come visit from Washington. We went to the Seahawks-Cardinals Thursday night football game, which ended up being a doozy. And then on Friday, went to ASU-TCU, which was down to the wire, top 25 matchup. Place was amazing. It was a torrential downpour from the storm that came in. And about an hour before game time, it all cleared out. It was nice and sunny, beautiful evening. Man, it was quite the experience. But I am hyped up for UFC action coming back. We finally got some big fights all around the world of MMA. But let's talk about some fights that have been booked. We will recap this week's Dana White Contender Series episode, talk about the PFL, recap UFC Perth, and preview UFC 320. So let's jump right in. We have Beneil Dariush and Benoit Saint-Denis going at it at UFC 322. That should be a doozy. And then UFC Qatar getting announced. Dana White went on IG Live yesterday. The rest of the card announced today. In the main event, I mean, this is a pay-per-view worthy card. We have Arman Tsarukyan taking on Dan Hooker. A little bit of a surprising matchup for Arman, but, you know, you got to do what you got to do. In the co-main, we have Bilal Muhammad and Ian Gary, which is funny because they said that they weren't going to fight. Now they're fighting. We also have Miktabik Oralbai and Jack Hermanson. That's a banger. We got Bekzat Almakhan taking on Alexandre Topuria. We have Volkan Ozdemir and Alonzo Menefield, another banger. We have Ismail Nardiev taking on Ryan Loder. And Tagir Ulanbekov taking on Kyoji Horiguchi. I mean, fantastic matchups. Will be exciting to see Kyoji back in the UFC against a very tough Tagir Ulanbekov. I believe this will be, I guess not. I was thinking it might be Alonzo Menefield's retirement fight, but that was Eric Anders I was thinking of. But regardless, absolutely stacked card at the end of the year. And on Tuesday, we had Contender Series Episode 8. 4 of the 5 winners getting a contract. The first fight, we had a heavy favorite in the flyweight division, Rashid Vagabov. He was really cocky during the fight, not really doing well in the fight, trying to grapple his opponent, but he had good defense, was chirping at Dana White, saying he's going to be a UFC champion, but didn't do enough, so Dana said not today. Not surprised there. At featherweight, we had Curtis Campbell Escauza from the UK, looking fantastic with a round 1 TKO over Demba Sek. A lot of like Congo African fighters that were just super powerful and explosive, but not technical. And Curtis was able to take advantage of that. But Demba Sek looking like a world beater. At welterweight, we had Christopher Alvidarez with a fantastic showing in a round 1 TKO over Eliezer Kubanza from Congo. Another absolutely powerful and explosive athlete that just lacked technique. You know, they're coming from places where there's no PIs or high-quality gyms, but huge moments for them to work on their craft. And then at bantamweight, we had Charles Jourdain's brother, Luis Jourdain, who's, I guess, been out for a few years with some knee issues. Really good fight. He got a round 3 submission via rear naked choke over a talented Magno Diaz who trains with the Fighting Nerds. And then at middleweight, we had Damian Pinas getting an easy round 1 TKO over Vitor Costa, a native from Suriname. Again, all 4 finishers getting contracts. Really impressed with Luis Jourdain. I mean, that was like a UFC quality fight. And also Curtis Campbell. But this Saturday, we had UFC Perth. I went 5-3 on my picks. So 716 wins, 356 losses, 9 no contests and draws. On the year, 232 wins, 115 losses, 2 no contests or draws. Still doubling up the loss total, but I need to stack up some wins this week. To recap the card, I thought the prelims were quality fights. The main card definitely had plenty of moments. The Aussies, a lot of them New Zealand as well, but we'll call them the Aussies, went 10-1. So you couldn't have a better night for Australia as a local fan. Canada doing work, Australia doing work, or it wasn't Canada. Where was it? I don't know, but the other location before this, a lot of their local fighters won. The Aussies doing a great job here. There was all this week up leading to the fight talk about not having great ticket sales. They lowered the price, and that still brought a packed stadium that had great energy. Seemed like a good vibe in there. And I'm happy for the lower ticket prices. Hopefully the UFC realizes they're pricing people out, and that happens in the USA where tickets go back to a little bit more normalized. You shouldn't have to pay $900 for a 100-level seat at a UFC event. That's like double an NFL ticket price. But I will recap UFC Perth, a 6 out of 10. I think I previewed it a 7 out of 10, but there were some fights that dropped. We had Oban Elliott and Jonathan Mikalev off because Oban, I believe, got hurt. And then we had both Taffa brothers out. Junior Taffa was supposed to take on Ibo Aslan, and Justin Taffa was supposed to take on Louis Sutherland. Some good fights we did not break down. We had Brando Pericic with a round 1 TKO over Elijah Ellison. Performance of the night, 50 G's for Brando. We had Michelle Montag in her UFC debut with a nice unanimous decision win over Luana Carolina. She dominated. 2 young prospects. We had Colby Thickness with the unanimous decision over Josias Musasa after an early onslaught. He stuck to his grappling. Clearly a big hole for Musasa. We had Jamie Malarkey with the unanimous decision over Orlando Bedoya. Cam Rouston with a round 1 TKO over Andre Petrosky. Brutal loss for Petrosky. That was a fight I got wrong. And then Jack Jenkins with the unanimous decision over Ramon Tavares. But we previewed one prelim fight. We had Navajo Stirling with a unanimous decision over Rodolfo Bellato. And this fight was actually more competitive than I was expecting. Rodolfo showcased his durability in this fight. He took a lot of Stirling's best shots, but he stayed in the center of the octagon, kept swinging and hanging in the pocket. Navajo was clearly the better striker. He landed more damaging strikes, more volume of strikes each round. And Rodolfo was finally able to get some takedowns in round 2 and 3, but he wasn't able to do enough to still around or really put Navajo in a bad position in this fight. Big win for Navajo. Rodolfo, good bounce back after the weird Paul Craig situation. Statistically, Navajo landed 101 total strikes, 81 of them significant. He had 1 takedown in 4 attempts and 3 minutes and 53 seconds of control time. Now, Rodolfo landed 62 total strikes, 43 of them significant. He went 2 for 6 in takedown attempts with 2 minutes and 23 seconds of control time. So Navajo extends his winning streak to 8. He's 4-0 in the UFC. And Rodolfo starts a new losing streak and moves to 1-1-2 in the UFC. So what's next? I would like to have Navajo Stirling and Modestas Bukauskas in a very fun fight. And for Rodolfo, he could take on Julius Walker. Moving on to the main card. We had Tom Nolan with a round 1 submission via rear naked choke over Charlie Campbell. Performance of the night, 50 G's. This was a fight I got wrong, but much like I expected, this was a chaotic, high-paced fight. Charlie was pressing Tom and was landing big, powerful lower leg kicks, and he had his leg beaten up pretty bad early in the fight. He was then able to rock Tom, but Tom was able to stay alive, get a takedown, and then found Charlie's back and was able to sink in a choke. But it just showcases when you get too wild and overzealous, you can put yourself in bad positions like Charlie did. And that was my concern with picking Charlie. He's been out for some time. You know he's going to go balls to the wall. He's a fun fighter to watch, but it cost him in this fight. You know, if Charlie would have been a little bit more patient, he probably could have got a leg finish, TKO early in round 2, or just a finish in general. But credit to Tom for weathering the storm and staying in the firefight. Again, Aussies were on a roll this evening. But good performances by both. They both look like quality fighters coming up. Statistically, Tom landed 33 total and 26 significant strikes. He had a takedown and a submission attempt. And Charlie landed 15 total on significant strikes while going 0 for 1 in takedown attempts. So Tom now extends his winning streak to 4. He's 5-1 in the UFC. And Charlie ends his 3-fight winning streak. He starts a new losing streak. And he's 2-1 in the UFC. Where do these gents go next? Well, how about Tom and Rong Zhu? While Charlie could square up with Nicholas Moda. Both of those fights, absolute bangers. Moving on, we had Neil Magny with a round 3 submission via Bravo choke over Jake Matthews. And man, oh man, this fight was very interesting as Jake had came out dominating Neil in round 1 with his striking and his grappling abilities. I mean, he was moving Neil like I've never seen someone move Neil and was in total control. He actually had a very deep guillotine that he rolled over into full mount in round 1. And it seemed like he was going to get a submission victory. But somehow the smart vet Neil was able to live through it. But it was a weird situation. It seemed like the official had called the fight with seconds left before the round because Neil put his arm out and it looked like he might have been out. But watching the replay, Neil clearly wasn't out. He got up right away and was telling the ref, like, I wasn't out. So they actually let the fight continue. It was definitely a weird scene. Well, in round 2, Jake showcased great striking, and Neil wanted the battle up against the cage in the clinch. And in round 3, Neil must have kind of exhausted Matthews as he was able to get takedowns and go to work. I was shocked that Neil was able to get Jake to tap as easily as he did as a black belt, but he must have been wore out through the chaos of the first rounds, and also the situation of Neil not tapping. You thought you won, all that adrenaline dump, then you got to go back in there for 10 more minutes. Definitely a brutal loss for Jake as he was on a great winning streak, but a career revival from Neil. He never goes away. He's still a guy you don't want to fuck with. Statistically, Jake landed 28 total strikes, 18 of them significant. He was 0 for 1 in takedown attempts, had 3 submission attempts, a reversal, and 4 minutes and 43 seconds of control time. Now, Neil landed 73 total strikes, but only 31 significant. He was 3 for 5 in takedowns, a submission attempt, and 2 minutes and 46 seconds of control time. Now, Neil extends his winning streak to 2. He's an even 4-4 since 2023. As always, Neil Magny is active. And Jake ends that nice 3-fight winning streak, starts a new losing streak, and moves to 4-2 since 2023. So what's next? Well, I think Neil and Carlos Leal would be the ideal next fight. And for Jake, how about Andreas Gustafsson? Moving on. The Aussie roll kept rolling as Jimmy Crute got a round 1 submission via rear naked choke over Ivan Erslan. Performance of the night, 50 G's for Jimmy. And it really wasn't a rear naked choke. I saw online someone called it a can opener or something like that. We'll talk about that in a second. But man, Jimmy's domination continues as he was able to make slight work of Ivan, attacking the wrestling, which is a hole for Erslan, as I expected. And he basically had Ivan facing down on the canvas, just picked him up from the neck like a fish, back all arched back, just went and just ripped up on his neck and ragdolled him. Had the Aussie crowd going wild and prepped for the finale, the Carlos Ulberg showdown. But Jimmy, man, he is where he belongs now, and Ivan is going to be fighting for his UFC life with this loss. Statistically, it only took Jimmy 12 total insignificant strikes. He was 2 for 4 in takedowns with a submission attempt, a reversal, and 2 minutes and 8 seconds of control time. And Ivan landed 10 total insignificant strikes. But Jimmy extends that winning streak to 2. He's 2-1-2 since 2023. And Ivan extends his losing streak to 3 as he's still seeking his first UFC victory. So what's next? Well, how about Jimmy and Umar C? That looks like a fantastic fight. And if Ivan is still with the UFC, how about Tuco Tacos? But then in the main event, Carlos Ulberg with a round 1 knockout over Dominick Reyes. Performance of the night, 50 G's for Carlos. And I mean, there's not a lot to talk about as the first half of the round was very measured. Both men were patient. They were respecting each other's power. And Dom was just too patient. He didn't put the pressure on Ulberg as he needed to and as I expected. But Carlos was able to time a perfect 1-2 down the pipe and landed right on target and was able to get a beautiful finish, and he should be next in line with this finish. Dom is going to have to regroup and see where he stands, as his title days are most likely over in the light heavyweight division. Brilliant performance by the powerful Ulberg. Statistically, Carlos landed 11 total insignificant strikes with a knockdown, and Dominick only landed 5 total insignificant. So Carlos now has that winning streak up to 9. He's 10-1 in the UFC, and Dominick ends that 3-fight winning streak. He starts a new losing streak and drops 1 spot in the rankings to number 8. So what's next? Well, I expect Carlos to get the winner of this weekend's main event, and for Dominick, I'd like to see him fight Jamal Hill. But this weekend, pay-per-view action, loaded card. We back up in here. UFC 320, early prelims at 3 p.m. Pacific. The prelims at 5 p.m. Pacific, all on ESPN+. And obviously one of the last few pay-per-views before we go to Paramount next year. Still be to determine what's going to happen there. But hopefully no more pay-per-views for us fight fans. To preview this card, I mean, the early prelims and the prelims have very quality fights, great matchmaking, just as good as a complete fight night card. And the main card has 5 box office fights with 2 titles on the line, a ton on the line in the light heavyweight and bantamweight divisions. Hopefully Vegas actually shows up early. A lot of the pay-per-views in Vegas, no one shows up till after the pay-per-view. But the place should be rocking. This card deserves it. I am previewing it at 8 out of 10. Don't miss this one. Some good fights we will not break down. We have Punahele Soriano taking on UFC alum Nikolai Veretinnikov. We have Patchy Mix taking on KSW alum Jacob Wilkholtz. We have Daniel Santos taking on Zombie Fight League alum Jusang Yu. And then we also lost a fight, or we got a short notice fight change that we will not break down. Ozzy Diaz is out, but Treston Vines is in, making his UFC debut against the very young and explosive 23-year-old Otaba Gatier. But let's talk about this in the early prelims. We got Veronica Hardy, 29 years old with a 9-5-1 record, taking on Brogan the Bear Walker, 37 years old with an 8-4 record. Now, Brogan at 37 years old has only fought in the UFC once since she lost the Ultimate Fighter finale, and she hasn't looked great. Veronica seemed ready to be rolling in the division until her last defeat in November. So both women definitely have a ton on the line here, but are in different spots in their careers. Breaking it down, Veronica is on a 1-fight losing streak and is 3-1 since 2023. Brogan is an Invicta and Ultimate Fighter alum. She's on that 2-fight losing streak. Her only fight's in the UFC, but she did make the Ultimate Fighter finale, and she does have a 3-inch reach advantage. Now, both men are actually pretty well-rounded, but Veronica is in her prime. She has showcased better striking, obviously working with her husband. But Brogan is going to look for takedowns, and if she can control Hardy like Mora did, then Veronica is going to be in a bad spot, but she's had 9 months to work on that part of her game. I think Veronica handles business and gets her momentum back. For that reason, I'm taking Veronica Hardy. We are putting her on that parlay. We marking that ish down, and we getting that bread. Moving on. We have Ramiz Brahimaj, 32 years old with a 12-5 record, taking on Austin the Gentleman Vanderford, 35 years old with a 13-2 record. Now in this fight, we're getting 2 men in their primes that are looking to make a wave on a massive pay-per-view card and shoot up the rankings in a very deep and talented welterweight division. Ramiz looks like he's been up and down lately. I do think he is the best version of himself today, while Austin looks to get his second UFC win after a solid Bellator career and get out of the limelight of his wife, Paige Van Zandt. Breaking it down, Ramiz trains out of Fortis MMA. His last 2 fights have been performance of the night. He's showing up, he's showing out. He's on a 2-fight winning streak, 3-2 since 2022, and 11 of his 12 wins are via submission. Now, Austin has a wrestling style. He has an NAIA wrestling background at a Southern Oregon University, where he won the NAIA championships in 2012. He's a Contender Series Bellator and LFA alum. 5 of his 13 wins are via knockout. Both of his losses are also via knockout. So as I say, to knock out or be knocked out. Now, Austin actually looked great in his UFC debut, but he is getting a step up in competition. Ramiz is a fast starter, but he is susceptible to takedowns and tiring if the fight goes late. I do expect this fight to go late and Austin to look for a high volume of takedowns as Ramiz has struggled in the loss against Themba Garimbo. I do expect Austin to control the pace of this fight as long as he can get a takedown early or avoid the early onslaught from Brahimaj. For that reason, I'm taking Austin Vanderford, but I'm avoiding this in any parlays where possible. Still in the early prelims, we have Macy Chiasson, 34 years old with an 11-4 record and the number 5 next to her name, taking on Yana Foxy Santos, 35 years old with a 16-8 record and the number 10 next to her name. Now this is a fun vet showdown. There is a ton on the line for both women as they want to stay relevant in the shallow division, but have a chance at an eventual title fight if they keep the winning ways going. Macy got checked by Ketlin Vieira, so she should be fired up for this next fight. And Yana is back to her winning ways after reinventing herself a few times through the past 5 years. Breaking it down, Macy has a brown belt in BJJ and Krav Maga. She's an Ultimate Fighter alum and former champion. She's also an Invicta alum. 2 of her last 3 fights have been performance of the night. She's showing up, she's showing out, and she does have a 3.5-inch reach advantage. Now, Yana has a Taekwondo and Muay Thai style. She trains out of American Top Team. She has a black belt in Taekwondo. She's an Invicta alum and former champion. She's on a 2-fight winning streak and is 2-2 since 2023. 7 of her 16 wins are via knockout, and 3 of her 8 losses are also via knockout. So to knock out or be knocked out. Now, Yana was actually impressive in her Miesha Tate fight because she was able to defend 6 of her 7 takedowns that Tate brought to her. Macy is definitely more of a vicious striker at this point in her career than Tate, but she does rely on grappling, and I think will have better luck than Miesha did, as she is a little bit past her prime. I think this is going to be a dogfight, and Yana will have her moments on the feet as well. I can see it going everywhere on the canvas, up against the cage, in the middle, kickboxing, clinch game, grappling, wild, untechnical strikes that these women like to throw. I just think Macy is a better version of herself than Yana, who is almost 36 years old. For that reason, I'm taking Macy Chiasson, but I'm avoiding this on any parlays where possible. Moving on to the prelims, we have Farid, Ferocious Basharat, 28 years old with an undefeated 13-0 record, taking on Chris El Guapo Gutierrez, 34 years old with a 22-5-2 record. Now, Farid is undefeated, and he's not even in his prime yet. He is taking on a solid fighter who has been in the top 15 of the 135-pound division, which is no easy feat at all. This may actually be Farid's stiffest test yet, especially from one of the best kickers in all of the UFC. Breaking it down, Farid has an orthodox stance. He trains out of Extreme Couture. He's a Contender Series alum. He's undefeated on a 13-fight winning streak, 5-0 in the UFC, and 6 of his 13 wins are via submission. He also has a 4-inch reach advantage. Now, Chris trains out of Factory X. He has a brown belt in BJJ. He's a Bellator World Series of Fighting and LFA alum. He's on a 2-fight winning streak and is 3-2 since 2023, and 9 of his 22 wins are via knockout. Now, Farid is going to be looking for takedowns. I don't think Chris is going to be able to defend enough because John Castaneda was able to take him down and hold him there, and Basharat is much better. Chris is going to be looking to get his kicks going while standing, but I think Farid is a better boxer as well, so he will be able to strike himself into takedown openings and get the job done. For that reason, I'm taking Farid Basharat. I'm saying he's still undefeated We are putting him on that parlay. We marking that ish down, and we getting that bread. Moving on. We have Edmen, the Golden Boy Shahbazyan, 27 years old with a 15-5 record, taking on Andre Sergipano Muniz, 35 years old with a 24-7 record. It is wild to think that Edmen is only 27. He's not even in his prime yet, but it does seem like he is firing on all cylinders right now. There is no doubt he will look to be aggressive and stalk down Andre, but Andre has really good grappling and amazing BJJ, and if Edmen is overzealous, it will cost him like it did in the Gerald Meerschaert fight in August of last year. But breaking it down, Edmen trains out of Extreme Couture. He has a black belt in Shotokan Karate. He is a Contender Series alum. He's on a 2-fight winning streak and is 3-2 since 2023. 12 of his 15 wins are via knockout, and 3 of his 5 losses are also via knockout. So to knock out or be knocked out. Now, Andre has a southpaw stance. He has a 3rd-degree black belt in BJJ. He has a dark blue Prajid in Muay Thai. He had the 2021 Submission of the Year against Ronaldo Souza. He's a Jungle Fight and Contender Series 2-time alum. He's on a 1-fight losing streak and is 1-3 since 2023. 15 of his 24 wins are via submission. 6 of his 7 losses are via knockout. Plays to Edmen's favor. And he does have a 4-inch reach advantage. Now, clearly, Edmen will be the faster and more technical fighter, but Andre isn't afraid to throw down. He was TKO'd only 5 months ago, so he does have to be careful. But Edmen's going to be the one coming forward and pressuring, but he has to be ready for the takedowns, because if Andre could get top pressure early, it's going to be a long night for the young Shahbazyan. But I am taking Edmen Shahbazyan. We are putting him on that parlay. We marking that ish down, and we getting that bread. Moving on to the main card. We got Joe Body Bags Pyfer. Be like Joe. 29 years old with a 14-3 record, taking on Abus Magomedov. 35 years old with a 28-6-1 record and the number 14 next to his name. Now, Joe has looked really good since coming from the Contender Series. Abus seems to be rolling at the edge of his prime, but it will be the stiffest test for Joe to date. I do think Joe's aggression will pay dividends here, but Magomedov has a solid defense and is going to make Pyfer earn it, so he better be ready for a 15-minute war. Breaking it down, Joe trains out of Marquez MMA. 3 of his last 6 fights have been performance of the night. He shows up, he shows out. He's a Ring of Combat alum and former champion. He's also a Cage Fury and Contender Series 2-time alum. He's on a 2-fight winning streak and is 4-1 since 2023, and 9 of his 14 wins are via knockout. Now, Abus is a PFL and KSW alum. He's on a 3-fight winning streak and is 3-2 since 2023. 14 of his 28 wins are via knockout, 8 via submission, so 22 of his 28 wins via finish. He gets the job done, and he does have a 3-inch reach advantage. Now, specifically in the striking, this battle is going to be a doozy. I do think Joe looks for takedowns often, and if he can get a boost down and wear on him, I do think it'll pay big dividends. But the longer the fight goes, the cleaner Magomedov is, and I could see him pulling it off, but I think Joe is too much to handle in a 3-round fight. For that reason, I'm taking Joe Pyfer. We are putting him on that parlay. We marking that ish down, and we getting that bread. And I'm pretty positive I'm just realizing that I skipped over the PFL Championships tomorrow morning. So we're quickly going to talk about it. The main card starts at 8:30 a.m. Pacific on ESPN. Some quality fights. We have Jack Cartwright taking on former UFC fighter Callan Logren. I expect Logren to win. We got former YO wrestler Archie Colgan taking on JJ Wilson, his biggest test to date. I'm taking my boy Archie. We have former UFC fighter Corey Anderson taking on Dovlet Yagshimuradov, taking Corey Anderson. And then the ultimate rematch, they had to do it. Usman Nurmagomedov, and Paul Hughes. I'm taking my boy Paul Hughes. That should be an absolute banger. Probably be around 11 to noon on Friday tomorrow. So make sure to tune in on ESPN. I'm excited for that main event. That's what the best thing that the PFL has to offer. Sorry for missing that. Let's jump back into the main card. We have Yusuf, the Moroccan Devil Zalal. 29 years old with a 17-5-1 record and the number 9 next to his name. Taking on Josh, Mr. Clean Emmett. 40 years old with a 19-5 record and the number 8 next to his name. Now, Josh has been training with TJ Dillashaw and looks to be in amazing shape. He has not showcased a big drop-off yet, although he is 40 years old. But Zalal is a tricky little guy. He's tough to game plan around, and he did win the biggest fight of his career against Calvin Kattar because of his speed and his quickness and footwork. I expect much of the same in this fight. Josh lives off his big hooks, and Zalal is going to be in and out and moving the entire fight so he can't load up and land on him. But breaking it down, Yusuf has a kickboxing style. He has an orthodox stance. He trains out of Factory X. He has a black belt in BJJ. He's an LFA alum, and this is his second stint with the UFC. He's on a 7-fight winning streak, 4-0 in his UFC return, and 9 of his 17 wins are via submission. Now, Josh has a wrestling background. He has an NAI wrestling background out of Menlo College. He trains out of Team Alpha Male. He has a purple belt in BJJ. 3 of his last 5 fights have been fight of the night or performance of the night. He shows up, he shows out. He has the most knockdowns in UFC featherweight history with 12. The guy possesses serious power, and his nickname isn't Mr. Clean, but he's a shredded bald guy. That's the nickname I gave him. He's tied with Chuck Liddell, Quentin Jackson, Cody Garbrandt, and Montel Jackson for most consecutive fights with a knockdown landed in UFC history with 7 consecutive fights. He had the 2023 knockout of the year against Bryce Mitchell. He literally took his soul. And 7 of his 19 wins are via knockout. He is on a 1-fight losing streak and is only 1-3 since 2023. Now, Yusuf is going to look for quick combos, probably a ton of kicks to take away the power from Josh, and not be able to let Josh square him up and land his serious power shots. Now, I do think Josh might look to take Zalal down to slow him down a bit and land some early damage, but Zalal is a very wiry fighter and he's good from his back. I just think Zalal is going to outpoint Josh and be in a tit-for-tat battle with not a lot of action. For that reason, I'm taking Yusuf Zalal, but I'm avoiding this on any parlays where possible. I think Josh knows what he's up against and he's preparing for it. So I wouldn't be surprised with that wrestling, little TJ Dillashaw camp. But man, these next 3 fights are absolute bonker fight of the year potentials. I can't wait for this one. We get Khalil, the Warhorse Roundtree Jr., 35 years old with a 15-6 record and the number 4 next to his name. Sorry, I'm looking at the Vegas odds real quick. So I believe I got some dogs in the fight. Know what I'm saying? He's taking on Yuri BJP Prashaka, 32 years old with a 31-5-1 record and the number 2 next to his name. Now, this fight is going to be insane. Every single Yuri Prohaska fight is insane because of his aggression, his power, and his lack of striking defense. He's definitely been working on his defense and his head movement, but I don't see how in the world he's going to hang with Khalil with his full arsenal of attacks. I do expect Khalil to take out Yuri's leg as soon as possible so he could pick his moments and get a finish himself. But breaking it down, Khalil has a southpaw stance. He trains out of Syndicate MMA. 4 of his last 6 fights have been fight of the night or performance of the night. He shows up, he shows out. He is tied with Chuck Liddell and Mauricio Rua, aka Shogun, for most knockdowns landed in UFC light heavyweight history at 14. He has the most knockdowns landed in a UFC light heavyweight bout with 4 against Eric Anders. He's an RFA and Ultimate Fighter alum. He's on a 1-fight winning streak and is 3-1 since 2023. 9 of his 14 wins are via knockout. 3 of his 6 losses are also via knockout. So to knock out or be knocked out. Now Yuri has a Muay Thai style. He has a black belt in Kyokushin. He's a former light heavyweight champion. He's the first Czech champion in UFC history. 5 of his 7 UFC fights in totality have been fight of the night or performance of the night. When he comes in, he shows up, he shows out. He had the 2022 Fight of the Year against Glover Teixeira. He's a Fight Nights Global and Risen alum and former champ with 1 successful title defense. He's on a 1-fight winning streak and is 2-2 since 2023. 27 of his 31 wins are via knockout. 4 of his 5 losses are also via knockout. So to knock out or be knocked out. And he does have a 3.5-inch reach advantage. Now Yuri, he's going to come in with those awkward angles, those weird attacks from everywhere. And Khalil is going to try to chop that leg and counter where the openings are. Once the first round is over, Yuri, I expect, is barely going to be able to walk and will be patient but aggressive in doing work with his kickboxing. And I think Khalil's going to find a way to get Prochazka out of there. If Yuri could somehow all of a sudden do better defending leg kicks and could keep Khalil on his back foot and back up against the cage, I do think he will have a chance with his power. I just don't see Yuri being able to keep walking Roundtree down without being countered and beat up. This is just a bad stylistic matchup for Yuri, and I am a little shocked at the odds. Most odds have him at about a -200 favorite, Khalil at a +150 or better dog. But I am taking the underdog, the dog's coming to eat. I'm taking Khalil Roundtree. I have faith. We are putting him on that parlay. We marking that ish down, and we getting that bread. This is a great fight to make money on. Parlay this with the main event. Now you're talking. But let's talk about the Bantamweight Championship. We have the Bantamweight GOAT. I really do think Merab has certified himself as the Bantamweight GOAT. I said the same thing about Aljamain Sterling, but Merab Dvalishvili's run right now is unmatched. We get Merab, the machine Dvalishvili, 34 years old with a 20-4 record, taking on Corey Sandman Sandhagen, 33 years old with an 18-5 record and the number 4 next to his name. Now, I think in the next 2 years, Merab's going to start to slow down, and someone will be able to defeat him, but that time is not right now. He seems to be getting better. He's still in his prime window, and he just dominates his opponents with his grappling. Although Corey is long and lengthy and has improved in his grappling, I don't think he will be able to do enough in the grappling to keep Merab off of him. He actually talked about during the countdown, to beat a grappler, you need to offensively wrestle yourself, and I think that could put Merab in a position to reverse him and end up on top like he would anyways. But breaking it down, Merab trains out of Syndicate MMA. He has a black belt in Judo and a purple belt in BJJ. He won silver in the 2019 Combat Sambo World Championships. He has 2 successful title defenses as a bantamweight champion. He's the first Georgia-born champion in UFC history. His last 2 fights have been performance of the night or fight of the night. He's showing up. He's showing out. He has the most unanimous decision wins in UFC bantamweight history at 10. He's tied with Rafael Dos Anjos, Bilal Muhammad, Brad Tavares, and Kamaru Usman for most unanimous decision wins in UFC history with 11. He has the longest win streak in UFC bantamweight history with 12. He has the most takedowns landed in UFC history at 97. The most takedowns landed in bantamweight history at 84. He has the most takedowns attempted in a bout in UFC history, 49 against Petr Yan. He has the most total strikes landed in bantamweight history at 2,233. He has the most control time in bantamweight history, 1 hour, 22 minutes, and 56 seconds. And he holds wins over not 1, not 3, but 4 former UFC champs. Jose Aldo, Petr Yan, Henry Cejudo, and Sean O'Malley. He was the 2025 MMA ESPY Award winner for Best MMA Fighter. He's a Ring of Combat alum and former champion with 1 successful title defense. And he's on a 13-fight winning streak, 5-0 since 2023. So he stays active, although he's the champ. Now, Corey trains out of the Forge Fight Club. He has a brown belt in BJJ. He had the 2021 Knockout of the Year against Frankie Edgar. He's an RFA and LFA alum. He's on a 1-fight winning streak and is 3-1 since 2023. 8 of his 18 wins are via knockout. Now, Corey does have the striking arsenal to find a finish, just like Sean O'Malley did, but can he create space long enough to find the target? I just think Merab, again, is the bantamweight GOAT, and as of now, he's just going to add to his resume. I don't see a way over the course of the 5 rounds that Corey's going to be able to keep the machine off of him. For that reason, I'm saying, and still, I'm taking Merab Dvalishvili. We are putting him on that parlay. We marking that ish down, and we getting that bread. And then the much anticipated rematch. We get Alex Poatan Pereira, 38 years old with a 12-3 record and the number 1 next to his name, taking on Magomed Ankalaev, 33 years old with a 21-1-1 record. Now, the fact that people doubted the idea of an immediate rematch blows my mind. It had to happen. I mean, Alex had been on a run, being a company man, saving UFC 300, then fighting 3 times as a champ in 6 months. It does seem like the activity finally got to him, as he fought Ankalaev the first time with a broken hand, and even had the norovirus before the fight. The reason I bring that up is not for excuses, but it clearly looked like he was exposed in that fight, and he didn't look like his normal self. But we're about to find out. I mean, Ankalaev is a very good, well-rounded fighter, not trying to take away from him, but Alex hardly did anything in the first fight, and we're about to see the real Poatan. Breaking it down, Alex has a kickboxing style. He has an orthodox stance. He trains out of Teixeira MMA and Fitness. He has a black belt in kickboxing and BJJ. He was the 2021, 2019, 2017, 2014 Glory champion. He had 5 middleweight defenses at Glory. He was the 2019 Glory Fighter of the Year and had the 2019 Knockout of the Year for Glory against Jason Wilness. And he had the 2017 Glory Fight of the Year against Israel Adesanya. He's the former light heavyweight champion with 3 successful title defenses, and the short amount of time it took him to get it is record-breaking. He has the shortest time and fewest bouts to win championships in 2 divisions in UFC history. It only took him 7 bouts in 736 days. He has the shortest time for 3 consecutive title defenses in UFC history at 175 days. Of course, he's also a former middleweight champion. He's the first and only fighter to win UFC middleweight and light heavyweight championships. He has the fewest MMA bouts to become a 2-division UFC champion, only 11 bouts. 3 of his last 5 fights have been fight of the night or performance of the night. He shows up, he shows out. He has the highest significant strike percentage in UFC history at 62.1%, and that's with over 1,000 attempted significant strikes. He has the highest significant strike percentage in the light heavyweight division at 64.4%. He has the latest knockout in UFC middleweight title fight at 2 minutes and 1 second remaining in round 5 against Israel Adesanya in their first fight. He holds wins over 5 former UFC champions: Israel Adesanya, Sean Strickland, Jan Blachowicz, Yuri Prohaska, and Jamal Hill, all in his first 8 UFC fights. I mean, the run he's been on is insane. He was the 2022 Male Fighter of the Year and Breakout Fighter of the Year, as well as the 2024 Fighter of the Year. He's a Jungle Fight and LFA alum. He's on a 1-fight losing streak and is 5-2 since 2023. 10 of his 12 wins are via knockout, and he does have a 4-inch reach advantage. Now, Magomed has a combat sambo style. He has a southpaw stance. He's the first Russian UFC light heavyweight champion. He's on a 3-fight winning streak. He's 3-0-1 since 2023, and 10 of his 20 wins are via knockout. Now, if Magomed is going to win, it's because he does a better job getting takedowns. I think with Alex ideally being healthy, I mean, we don't know, I'm assuming, he's going to stalk Magomed down and be more aggressive up against the cage. I don't expect this fight to go the entire full 25 minutes, but Magomed will have to leverage a lot of kicks and good footwork to defend his title, and I'm not betting on him being able to avoid the famed Powhatan kill shot for 25 minutes. For that reason, I'm taking the underdog, the dog's coming to eat. Pretty big underdog as well, but I'm taking Alex Powhatan Pereira. We are putting him on that parlay. We marking that ish down, and we getting that bread. The Alex and Khalil Roundtree is definitely the play as underdogs. Murav's a pretty big favorite, but that's a fantastic fight. How much does Josh Emmett have against a very quick fighter in Yusuf Salal? Joe Bodybags Pyfer and Abus Magomedov. The prelims, Edmen Shahbazyan, Andre Muniz. Can Farid Basharat stay undefeated against Chris Gutierrez? And plenty more in the early rounds. I'm absolutely hyped for UFC 320, and that sets us up for next week. Back to a location-based fight night card. We're going to Rio, Brazil for a loaded card headlined by 4th-ranked Charles Oliveira and 8th-ranked Mateusz Gamrot on short notice as Charles, lost his opponent in Fazeev, and then they really didn't have an option. Gamrot was the only guy to keep him on the card. But that's episode 118. I'm your host, Shane Gillette. See you next week.